I guarded my critically injured husband night and day, only for him to wake up, remember his ex-girlfriend, and kick my son and me out of the house. His ex-girlfriend then held up an expensive diamond necklace and told me, "Your husband was still sending me birthday gifts, 3 years into your marriage." In the hospital's intensive care unit, the beeping of the machines, drip, drip, sounded like a countdown to the end of my life. The doctor removed his mask. His voice was steady but held a hint of relief. "Mr. Ryan is out of danger and should wake up soon." My hands jerked. My eyes were glued to that pale face on the hospital bed. 3 days and 3 nights, I hadn't closed my eyes, staying here without changing my clothes. This man was my husband, the father of my son, Ethan. Yet, in that very moment of profound relief, the door to the room slammed open with a bang. The voice, cold, glamorous, and utterly arrogant, and the rhythm of high heels clicking on the floor were like slaps across my heart. The woman who walked in was Bella Smith, Ryan's ex-girlfriend, and the person he used to call his spiritual companion. Well, Sophia. A familiar, superior smirk curled Bella's lips. "You look absolutely haggard, like an old woman. Why don't I take over caring for Ryan? You know, I'm the one he truly relies on." I slowly stood up, my gaze fixed on her like a nail. "He is my husband." "Husband?" Bella let out a dismissive, grating laugh that set my nerves on edge. She walked straight to the bedside, placing her delicate fingers on the back of Ryan's hand with an intimacy that made my heart seize up. "Who are you trying to fool? Don't you know how miserable he's been for the past 3 years? He hates the smell of hospitals, knows exactly what kind of mineral water he needs, and is even allergic to certain medications. I am the one who knows him best." My body instantly recoiled. I had only learned those details from the doctor later, but Bella rattled them off without a thought. In that moment, I felt like an outsider in my own marriage, a ridiculous understudy. "What exactly do you want?" I asked hoarsely, my throat burning as if scraped by fire. Bella elegantly pulled a small box from her purse and slowly opened it. The diamond necklace reflected a blinding light that almost made me squint. "Ryan gave this to me for my birthday this year." She held the box up to my face, her smile cruel and triumphant. "This is what he owed me." "And you?" "A generic gift card he casually threw your way. You can't even fool yourself with that." My breath caught. I had always believed our flat relationship was due to his busy schedule. Now I knew that his real tenderness, his most precious intentions, had all been reserved for the woman standing right here. In the midst of the frozen silence, a low groan came from the bed. Ryan opened his eyes. My heart hammered against my ribs, and I blurted out, "Ryan." Bella also leaned in, her voice soft and urgent, "Darling." His hazy gaze drifted between Bella and me. Finally, his eyes focused on Bella. His expression instantly softened. He reached out, clutching her hand tightly, his voice weak but filled with longing, "Bella. I finally see you." My legs suddenly gave way, and my mind went blank. The next second, Ryan shifted his gaze to me, and those eyes were filled with utter unfamiliarity and alertness. "Who are you? Why are you here?" That single phrase, "Who are you?" was sharper than any blade. I staggered a few steps, hitting the wall hard. A sharp pain shot through my back, but it was less than a fraction of the agony in my heart. A flash of delight crossed Bella's eyes. She didn't hide her victory, turning to soothe Ryan gently. "Don't worry, I'm here." "No!" I cried out in a rasp, but my tears stubbornly refused to fall. "Ryan, I'm Sophia. I'm your wife of 3 years. We have a son, Ethan." "Wife?" Ryan's face instantly darkened, his eyes full of disgust and rejection. "Bella, get her out of here. I don't want to see this stranger." The room descended into chaos. The doctor and nurses rushed in, pulling us apart. After an examination, the doctor announced with a grim expression, "Ryan is suffering from selective amnesia. He has forgotten everything from the last 3 years. His memory stops 3 years ago, before his breakup with Bella." My world instantly fell apart. Bella excitedly jumped on the doctor's words. "So, that means he will only trust me now?" I didn't look at her again. I turned and walked out. What I left behind was a dead silent hospital room and my completely shattered heart. Holding Ethan, I pushed open the front door of the Hayes mansion. This familiar estate now felt like a cold, alien prison. I had only been gone for a single day, and the house already had a different mistress. In the living room, Bella Smith was lounging half reclined on the sofa in a silk robe, as if she were the real lady of the house. Servants were busy packing up my favorite vases and artwork, as if erasing every trace of my existence. I stepped in with my son in my arms, my steps steady. Bella saw me, a cold curl on her lip, but she quickly returned to her victor's posture. "What are you doing back?" On the sofa, Ryan looked up. There was no warmth on his pale face. His gaze landed on Ethan and me, and his brow furrowed immediately, as if seeing unwanted guests. "What are you doing here?" His tone was icy and distant. I didn't back down. I walked up to him and gently set Ethan down. "Ryan, this is Ethan, your 3-year-old son." The tiny figure hesitantly walked toward Ryan, his black eyes bright as the night sky, filled with an instinctive closeness and expectation. "Daddy." The child's tender voice echoed through the vast hall, carrying an innocent trust. I held my breath, desperately wishing for even a momentary flicker of emotion. But the next second, Ryan flinched back as if he'd been electrocuted, avoiding Ethan's small hand. His cold gaze was fixed directly on me, his voice full of contempt. "My son?" He let out a sharp, knife-like laugh. "Bella has already told me, we broke up 3 years ago, and you forced me to marry you right before the accident. This child is just a fabrication you made up to try and tie me down." My heart violently seized up. Ethan was still holding out his small hand, his eyes filled with confused hurt. But Ryan turned his face away and spat out even crueler words. "I wouldn't even acknowledge you as my wife, let alone believe in this child of unknown origin. Listen up, don't ever call me your father again." The air instantly froze. My blood ran cold, and my chest felt like it was being gouged by a sharp blade. But I didn't break down, I had to stay clear-headed. Bella now walked over, her movements gentle yet full of provocation, pushing Ethan back into my arms. "Do you hear that, Sophia? Ryan doesn't need you, and he doesn't need this child. He only trusts me, because I am his one true love." Ryan closed his eyes, waving his hand wearily. "Take your child and leave. If you want to talk about divorce, have your lawyer contact mine. Sophia, I don't want to see you again." Every word was like a bullet fired into my chest. I held Ethan tight. The child's small hands gripped my clothes, as if feeling my trembling. I slowly looked up at the man before me. The person who once promised to protect me for life now only had coldness and rejection in his eyes. Then I looked at Bella, her face full of mockery and triumph, and suddenly, the whole thing felt absurd and laughable. My voice became terrifyingly calm. "Fine, Ryan. Since you choose to believe Bella's lies, then so be it." I hugged Ethan close, my gaze as sharp as a knife, falling on Bella. "Enjoy your stolen victory. But remember this, stolen things are never truly yours." With that, I resolutely turned, holding my son, and walked step by step out of the mansion that had once been mine. After leaving the Hayes mansion, I drove straight to a law firm. I didn't cry, my emotions were as steady as a frozen lake, without a ripple. "Draft the divorce agreement," I told a lawyer across the table, my tone as flat as if discussing a common contract. "Full custody goes to me. I waive all marital assets, the Hayes Group shares, the properties, the alimony, I don't want a single penny." The lawyer, Mr. Chen, was shocked and pushed his glasses up. "Miss Sophia, are you sure? By law, you are entitled to billions in assets, and Mr. Ryan's actions during the marriage are clearly fault-based. You should be getting significantly more." I'm sure, my voice was unwavering and held an unshakable resolve. "I don't need his charity. Everything that belongs to him feels tainted to me. All I want is complete custody of Ethan." Mr. Chen looked at the indifference in my eyes and realized I wasn't being dramatic, I was utterly and irrevocably broken. The divorce agreement was quickly finalized. In the law firm's conference room, the air was frigid, like the Arctic. Ryan and I sat at opposite ends of the long table, like two estranged business adversaries. I signed my name on the document. My handwriting was clear and strong, every letter like an oath carved into stone. "The agreement is now effective, Mr. Hayes," the lawyer announced. I stood up, casting my gaze toward Ryan for the last time. His face was cold, his eyes filled with impatience for me to disappear. "Ryan," my voice was quiet, yet the calmness held a power that was instantly unsettling. "The person you are giving up today is the best Sophia you will ever have. And your denial of Ethan will be a mistake you can never correct." I turned my attention to Bella, who was clinging to Ryan's arm like a triumphant peacock, her eyes full of provocation. "Go ahead and guard your stolen victory. I'm leaving not because I lost, but because I'm tired of the rot. All you've stolen is an empty shell." With that, I turned and walked out of the law firm without looking back. That same day, I took Ethan and left the city. I changed all my phone numbers and contact information, completely severing all ties with the past. Time slipped quietly by. A year had passed in the blink of an eye. I moved with Ethan to a mild climate, slow-paced seaside town. I didn't return to the corporate world but chose a life that brought me the most peace. I opened a lovely, independent coffee shop with my own passion as the foundation. The coffee shop was named Free Bird. It symbolized my resolve to break free from restraints and embrace a new beginning. Every morning, the sun streamed through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating my busy figure. I personally ground the coffee beans and baked the pastries. Ethan would draw or read nearby, occasionally running over to hug my waist. A relaxed smile had returned to my face, a glow of inner independence that blossomed without relying on anyone. My life was settling into a groove. The cafe business was steady, and the reputation was growing. One day, a regular customer arrived, David Grant. David was a steady and friendly business consultant. He constantly praised my baking, but what he admired more was the resilience and serenity he saw in me, honed by life's trials. He never asked about my past, offering professional advice only when I ran into a malfunctioning piece of equipment or an accounting error. I only gave David polite smiles, but I felt a long-lost sense of groundedness. It was the first time in a completely new place that I had met someone who didn't try to control me or need me to appease them. One evening, a difficult customer suddenly appeared at the cafe, making a huge fuss about the ordering process and seating arrangements. I didn't panic. I handled the problem without batting an eye, my tone sharp yet gentle, every action asserting my authority. The customer eventually stormed out in a huff. David, standing nearby, gave a slight smile, his eyes showing clear admiration. However, just as I was inwardly letting out a sigh of relief, the door was suddenly pushed open. A strange figure walked in, sunglasses reflecting a blinding flash of sunlight. Sophia? A low male voice carried an undeniable tone of authority. My heart leaped. I turned and saw a man in a tailored suit, tall, steady, with sharp eyes. David frowned slightly but didn't intervene. I felt a surge of long-forgotten tension. This was the first time someone had abruptly shattered the peace I had built. Ethan clung to my leg, looking up at the stranger curiously. I gently picked him up, shielding him in my arms, and spoke calmly, "Who are you looking for?" The man offered a slight smile, a complex emotion flashing in his eyes. "Sophia, I'm here to help you solve a problem about your past and the Hayes family you thought you had left behind completely." A long dormant chill ran through me. I was ready to face anything. The man took off his sunglasses. My breathing instantly hitched. That face, which had once been the husband I missed day and night, was now the nightmare I desperately avoided, Ryan Hayes. "Mr. Hayes?" I gently set Ethan down, forcing my voice to remain polite and detached, as if the person standing before me was simply a stranger client I needed to dismiss. I could feel Ryan's heart constrict. My indifference hurt him more than any display of anger. He maintained his composure, pulling a document from his inner pocket, trying to appear professional and businesslike. "This file concerns a prior estate tax issue under your name. If not handled correctly, it could affect your current life, or even," Ryan paused, his eyes fixed on me, trying to catch any hint of greed or unease about money. "My lawyer has handled everything. I have no estate or debt issues." My gaze was cold and firm. "I do not wish to have any form of entanglement with you. Please leave." He hadn't expected me to refuse even to play along with his pretense, and his face darkened. He deliberately raised his voice, trying to draw the attention of others, "But the document involves a large sum of money. If you are struggling financially right now, perhaps her life is her own business." David Grant walked over at that moment, steadily positioning himself between Ryan and me. He wasn't angry, but his silent composure put pressure on Ryan. "Mr. Hayes," David said in a quiet tone that carried a hint of warning, "Sophia is a free woman. She doesn't need your charity or your interference. If you genuinely have a legal matter, please communicate formally through a lawyer's letter." I watched David stand beside me like a solid barrier. The irritation and jealousy on Ryan's face instantly peaked. He slammed the document onto the table. "Fine, Sophia." Ryan's voice was icy. "It seems you're doing well here." He gave me a long, deep look, then swept his eyes over David. With the frustration of his failed mission, he turned and left my coffee shop. After Ryan left, my heart slowly returned to normal. I knew his mind was full of confusion as he departed. She gave up billions to rent a coffee shop in a small town? He must have been asking himself that. My reaction was the complete opposite of Bella's description. I don't know what happened when Ryan returned to the mansion. I only know that the decision to cut him off completely was working. Only by leaving that cesspool could I truly gain a new life. I didn't know what Ryan was secretly doing, but a year after I signed the divorce agreement, he finally began to feel uneasy about the truth of my departure. In my memory, Ryan was gripping the photos the private investigator had given him, sitting in his dark study. The photos showed me in my loungewear, making breakfast for him in the kitchen, a gentle smile on my profile. Me sitting in his study, accompanying him as he dealt with documents, 2 cups of coffee nearby, and even more were the tender scenes of me holding Ethan, watching him take his first steps and say daddy for the very first time. There was a video showing Ryan coming home drunk. I meticulously wiped his face, my voice holding no impatience, only gentle exasperation. Ryan, you're such a big kid. I saw the Ryan in the video, even drunk, hugging me tightly, lowering his head to kiss the top of my hair, an intimacy and dependence that his amnesiac self couldn't comprehend. My breath stalled. I looked at the genuine smiles he showed to me and Ethan in the photos. The sense of peace of mind that was missing from his memory was now concretely displayed before him. The detective had also found detailed records of my management of household expenses and Ryan's personal schedule. Bella had said I was after wealth, but the records showed I was extremely frugal with my own spending, instead dedicating large sums to Ryan's corporate charity foundation and employee family assistance programs. What shocked Ryan the most was finding that the custom-made ergonomic office chair in his study, which he had always liked and found so comfortable, was something I had searched the globe to order for his birthday. A tiny corner of the chair was carved with a minuscule S and R. Every piece of this evidence was a violent assault on Bella's lies, and a slap across Ryan's own face. He had actually cast out a wife who had been so sincere and devoted, treating her like a stranger. He sat in the dark study, clutching those photos tightly. He looked at the chair I had customized for him, and a sharp pang of guilt twisted in his heart. What have I done to her? He growled under his breath. He finally understood that what he hated was not me, but the false, deceitful 3 years that Bella had fabricated for him. And his denial of Ethan had become the heaviest burden on his soul. He had to find Ethan. He had to see the son he had personally pushed away. Ryan secretly returned to the seaside town once more. He didn't inform anyone in advance, parking his car alone on the street opposite the Free Bird coffee shop. He set up his binoculars, not to see me, but to see the child he had personally denied, Ethan Hayes. Soon, I walked out, holding Ethan's hand. The little guy wore a bare hoodie, frosting smeared on his face, looking up and giggling at me. Ryan's body instantly stiffened. He saw Ethan. The child was practically his twin. The same deep-set eyes, the same straight nose bridge, the slight curve of his mouth when he smiled, it was all inherited from Ryan Hayes. This visual impact was far more stunning than any photo the detective had given him. You are not my son. He screamed internally, trying to use the lies Bella had fed him to fight against the hard, undeniable truth before his eyes. But he felt the instinct of blood connection, a powerful, uncontrollable mix of pride and guilt. This was his son, the one he had personally pushed away and allowed to call someone else daddy. I led Ethan toward the nearby community park. Ryan quickly got out of his car and followed, maintaining a safe distance. In the playground, Ethan clumsily climbed the slide, waving at me excitedly. I stood below, laughing and encouraging him, my eyes full of warmth and maternal love. In that moment, Ryan realized that even without the aura of wealth and privilege, I was living a rich, warm life. He suddenly remembered Bella's hysterical fits and how his life with her had become nothing but endless demands and arguments. The scales in his heart completely tipped. He finally understood that he hadn't forgotten a boring wife, he had forgotten everything good he had ever possessed. Ryan stood behind a large tree, his heart pounding like it was about to explode. He painfully admitted that Ethan was almost certainly his biological son. But he needed irrefutable proof, not only to utterly crush Bella, but also to erase the shameful denial in his own heart. He stared intently at Ethan, searching for an opportunity. Exhausted from playing, Ethan ran to a bench to drink some water. He casually tossed the empty juice box and a used tissue into a nearby trash can. There was only a split second. Ryan pretended to be a passerby, walked up to the trash can, and quickly and calmly retrieved the discarded tissue that Ethan had thrown away. This piece of discarded trash was his only evidence to expose Bella's massive lie, to prove his own profound guilt, and to reassess everything. He took one last, deep look at the happy sight of Ethan and me, his heart wrung with pain. He didn't approach to reveal himself, because he knew that, as he was now, he didn't have the right. Ryan turned, quickly leaving the park. He had to return immediately and send the sample for testing. He needed to hear the words confirming the blood relationship before he could fully confront the immense mistake he had made 3 years ago. 3 days later, Ryan sat alone in his private office, waiting. Every tick of the clock on the wall was like a heavy hammer blow to his heart. He had spread all the documents and detective reports on the table, including the photo of the custom chair and the photos of Ethan. He needed this cold evidence to combat the warm delusion Bella had woven. Finally, the encrypted email notification popped up. Ryan's hand trembled as he clicked open the DNA test results. On the first page, the string of cold numbers was more devastating than any legal verdict. Probability of paternity, 99.9999%. Ryan slammed his eyes shut. He felt no surprise, only a wave of immense, delayed pain and fury. Fury that he had been fooled, and pain that he had missed 3 years of his son's life. The phone call, he dialed Bella's number. "Where are you?" His voice was low and hoarse, suppressing the force of a volcanic eruption. "Darling, I'm out at the spa," Bella cooed, her voice sickly sweet and false. "What's up? Do you miss me? Come home. Now." Ryan cut her off ruthlessly, his tone laced with command and lethal intent. Bella's heart gave a violent lurch. She recognized the deadly danger in Ryan's voice. She knew. She had been found out. Bella sped back to the Hayes mansion. She rushed into the kitchen and found the sleeping pills the doctor had prescribed after Ryan's head injury. She knew Ryan occasionally suffered from headaches. She planned to administer a large dose, putting him into a deep sleep to stop any further investigation or clarity. When Bella walked into the study, Ryan was already standing there, holding the DNA report and some torn-up old photos, remnants of Sophia's past that Bella had tried to destroy. "Ryan, let me explain." Bella's face was ashen, and her voice began to shake. She attempted to secretly slip the pills into the whiskey Ryan had just poured himself. Ryan's gaze was razor-sharp, like an eagle seeing through everything. He snatched the glass from Bella's hand and smashed it violently onto the floor. The whiskey and fragmented pills scattered everywhere. "What are you doing?" Ryan roared with a deafening fury. The long-suppressed anger had finally found its outlet. The immense emotional conflict and the return of reason instantly tore through the fragile barrier in Ryan's mind. He clutched his head, the agonizing pain hitting him like an electric shock. Everything before his eyes began to twist and blur. He suddenly remembered 3 years ago. After the wedding, he had decided to completely cut ties with Bella, but she kept pestering him under the guise of being best friends. He, being soft-hearted and foolishly indecisive, hadn't firmly refused, giving her an opening. He remembered Bella frequently using small favors between friends as an excuse to guide him into giving expensive gifts, causing him endless frustration. He remembered how, after the doctor announced his amnesia, Bella stopped him from seeing any information about Sophia, and how she stole the visiting and accompanying rights that rightfully belonged to Sophia in the hospital. Ryan abruptly opened his eyes. The confusion in them was completely gone, replaced by a cold, clear, hateful light. He stared at Bella, his gaze devoid of any love, offering only the judgment of a lie. "I remember now." Ryan's voice was terrifyingly calm, every word crawling out from the abyss. "Bella, you lied to me for 3 years. You are not my spiritual companion. You are nothing but a poisonous snake waiting for its chance." Bella completely broke down. She collapsed onto the floor, screaming desperately, "No. You can't remember. I'm the one who loves you. The one who loves me is named Sophia." Ryan looked down at her with icy eyes. "You destroyed my family, denied my son, and even tried to harm me again. Now, you will pay the price for everything you have done." Ryan quickly dialed his personal bodyguards and the corporate legal department. "Call the police immediately and have Bella Smith arrested for libel. At the same time, prepare for a press conference. I want to apologize to the world, and to Sophia." In less than an hour, fully armed private bodyguards and corporate legal representatives escorted Bella away from the Hayes mansion. I knew Ryan had activated the highest-level public relations machine of his empire. An emergency press conference for the global media was scheduled for that afternoon. Ryan Hayes, wearing a dark suit, stood under the spotlight. I don't know what he said, but I could imagine the intensity in his eyes. This time, he didn't use a PR spokesperson to cover things up. He personally faced global scrutiny. "Today, I stand here not to sell a product, but to repent and clarify." He publicly disclosed the entire process of how he had been deceived and manipulated by Bella over the past 3 years. He showed copies of the DNA paternity test, using irrefutable scientific evidence to prove that Ethan was his biological son. He also announced that my walkaway divorce was a testament to my dignity, not any supposed greed. I lost my memory in an accident and was trapped by despicable lies. My greatest fault was not the amnesia, but failing to decisively handle my relationship with Bella Smith while I was lucid, which allowed her to take advantage, I heard him say, filled with self-reproach. I am here to offer my deepest apologies to my ex-wife, Sophia, and my son, Ethan. I missed 3 years of your lives and broke my marriage vows. I implore the public to direct all condemnation solely at me, Ryan Hayes. This press conference was undoubtedly a massive commercial earthquake. Meanwhile, in the tranquil seaside town far from the noise, it was business as usual at the Free Bird coffee shop. I was brewing David his favorite Kenyan coffee. Seems like there are a few more tourists in town today, David said with a smile. His eyes lingered on his phone screen for a moment, but he quickly looked away. You look great today. I smiled, yes, maybe it's the good sunlight. Just then, a backpacker resting in the corner of the shop gasped aloud, and the sound from his phone amplified. Unbelievable. Hayes Group CEO Ryan Hayes is crying and apologizing on a live stream. Admitting his ex-wife Sophia is the victim and the paternity test confirms his son Ethan's identity. My hand instantly froze, the scalding coffee nearly spilling. The name Ryan Hayes, like a bomb, instantly shattered the long-established peace. David's face tightened. He quickly grabbed the remote and turned up the background music in the shop. But it was too late. I slowly walked over to the backpacker and took his phone. On the screen was Ryan's weary yet resolute face. I heard him repeat the phrase, I was wrong. I saw him display the DNA report. I saw the walkaway divorce agreement I had signed a year ago publicly shown to prove my innocence and my strength of character. In an instant, immense heartache, anger, and the finally proven sense of justice surged like a tide. My eyes turned red, but I did not cry. I only felt cold all over. This delayed justice had been bought with 3 years of my youth and 1 year of displacement. I returned the phone to the backpacker, my voice chillingly calm, thank you. I apologize, but we will be closing early today. David swiftly cleared the scene and locked the shop door. He looked at me, his eyes full of concern. Sophia, the whole world knows now. At least he stepped up and admitted it. Admitted it? I let out a cold laugh, the smile carrying a sharp chill. All he admitted was the original truth he had been lying to himself about. He apologized because his life is miserable now, not because he suddenly found a conscience. It's exactly what I told him a year ago, the one he gave up was the best Sophia he'll ever have. I took a deep breath, instantly reverting to the most astute and decisive mistress of the Hayes family. David, help me arrange something. I walked behind the counter and pulled out an old envelope containing my backup phone and lawyer's contact information. Tell my lawyer that I don't want his apology, nor do I need the trust fund he set up for Ethan. I shook my head firmly, my eyes completely unwavering about the money. My name has finally been cleared. That is what I wanted. But my life doesn't need him to fix it. Just then, the coffee shop phone rang, an unfamiliar number on the screen. David put it on speaker. I am a legal representative for Ryan Hayes. We have located Ms. Sophia's address. Our CEO would like to speak with her personally to discuss Ethan's custody and the possibility of reconciliation. David looked at me, and I gave him a single, icy glance. Please inform the CEO of the Hayes Group, I said myself, my voice clear and strong, I have started my new life. If he wishes to discuss Ethan's custody, please go through the courts. As for reconciliation, tell him to ask the empty shell he forgot for 3 years and then discarded, if she would like to go back. My words landed like a heavy hammer blow on Ryan. He realized that what I wanted was not legal definition, but dignity and complete freedom. Ryan didn't retreat. He dropped all his work and came to the seaside town. Knowing I resented his high-handed attitude, he began acting as a father seeking atonement. Without alarming me, he upgraded the community park Ethan frequented, even dedicating an Ethan-exclusive observatory with Ethan's favorite space theme, attempting to penetrate my defenses with fatherly love. I finally agreed to visitation, once a week, 2 hours each time, held on the 2nd floor of the cafe, under my constant supervision. Ryan accepted this charity. He put away all his arrogance and authority, using the most clumsy and patient demeanor to win the affection of his son, Ethan. However, after every visit, my indifference was like an invisible wall, knocking down all his efforts. He only won his son's curiosity, while the wife and family he truly wanted to reclaim drifted further and further away. One gloomy Sunday afternoon, Ryan ended the visit early. He didn't rush to leave. He knew I was downstairs, preparing to take Ethan out of the cafe. Ryan walked to the huge, floor-to-ceiling window of Free Bird. He watched me in the sunlight, wearing that tranquil smile that haunted him. I had completely broken free, becoming a true free bird. In Ryan's heart, the irreplaceable regret and pain reached its peak. He finally saw clearly that what he had lost was a soulmate who could stand beside him and complete his life. He knew that all his power and money were meaningless at this moment. He needed the most primal, most absolute form of repentance. Under the gaze of the town residents and a few lingering media reporters, Ryan Hayes, the CEO of the Hayes Group, fell to his knees on the cold marble floor in front of the Free Bird coffee shop. He didn't scream, only shouted in a near-desperate roar directed at me through the window, "Sophia! I was wrong. I admit my failures in the marriage. I admit my ignorance and cruelty after my memory loss. I am willing to use the rest of my life to make up for the sins I committed. Please, I beg you, give me a chance to fix all of this as Ethan's father." I slowly took Ethan's hand and walked out of the coffee shop. I stood in the sunlight, looking at the man who was once so high and mighty, now kneeling at my feet. My eyes were calm, without a trace of wild joy or resentment, only a serenity and freedom that transcended all earthly conflict. "Ryan," my voice was quiet and clear, like a judge's final ruling. "You forgot 3 years of my life, but I used those 3 years to build the Sophia I am today. You are out. I don't need your wealth, and I no longer need your love." I tightly held Ethan's small hand, a serene and resolute smile on my face. "You once had my best love, but you chose to throw it away. Now, I am free." I didn't spare him another glance. I pulled Ethan's hand and turned, walking step by step toward the distant seaside with complete peace and pride. Ethan was smiling, completely unaware of what had happened behind him, only feeling his mother was leading him to the most beautiful scenery. Ryan remained kneeling alone. He watched the receding figures of Ethan and me, watching the happiness and completeness he had personally pushed away finally merge into the free horizon where the sea met the sky. He won back his memory, punished the snake, and restored his reputation, but he had forever lost the best love of his life and his complete family. And I, Sophia, had become a true queen, able to control my own free life, no longer dictated by anyone.